Okay, so I just finished The Second Son by, hold on a minute, I forgot who it's by, Chris Stewart. It's not my favorite storyline. Well, I like the storyline. I don't like books about war. I don't like books that are known as really good authors because they go into a lot of detail that I can't stay interested in. So it's really hard for me to stay interested in all those details. And I think, just get on with the story. Like in this book, he spent a lot of time setting the scene almost perfectly for a pilot that's taking a package to Washington, D.C., which is at the end of the book, but I'll come to that later. So because there's so much detail, I'm often like trying to skim through it, but not wanting to miss anything that might be important as well. So last story ended with Azada's father dying and Omar taking the young prince and the second wife of the crown prince to safety.
Where do I get Sims 4 from?
I have no idea. It ended with that was basically, and the crown prince dying at the hand of his brother, Prince Abdullah, who is now King Abdullah, because his father died as well. A slow poisoning, I believe. So this story starts off with Azada making it to, well, she's in her village and people have been looting her house and trying to rebuild, trying to grieve. And eventually she becomes an outcast because her family's the reason that their village was attacked. So her village cast her out. She goes to her house to see if there's anything left to salvage. And doesn't find anything much. She was looking specifically for the brush and the comb set that her father got her for her birthday. Of course, she didn't find it. She didn't expect to find it, but she was hoping. So she left thinking that maybe she would go to Omar's place and find some refuge. Unbeknownst to her, there are soldiers there that are waiting to take Omar into custody because they knew he was friends with her father. She starts heading there, gets to the general area, and is told by the spirit not to go there. Her father's with her as well. There's a spirit, I think it's an angel, that helps keep her warm throughout the cold nights so that she doesn't die from the elements. They give her a meal, feed her, and when she wakes up in the morning, all that's gone, but she does have her brush and comb set. I don't think it's mentioned again throughout the book, but she has it. And she makes her way to Khorramshahr, which is a refugee camp in, I don't know, it's in it over the border of the country because she had to kind of sneak through the country and get into the camp. There she befriends an elderly woman who is dying of tuberculosis that is no longer contagious. And she befriends her and keeps her company, brings her food, nurses her, and then she is taken by these child slavers, traffickers. They come with paperwork that's all in order, saying she has an uncle in Pakistan, I believe, and that he is going to take care of her. She knows she doesn't have an uncle in Pakistan. What's his name? The main register guy knew she didn't have an uncle in Pakistan. He knew it was a setup, but there wasn't anything he could do because the paperwork is in order. So she gets taken by them, and basically she's sold. Now we find out that Sam Brighton is the one who's buying her specifically, so that he can get her into freedom. So he's working with an organization that helps these kids get free, and they set him up with a new life and everything. So Sam buys her. They end up killing the guards and everything that were there, because that's what they were going to do to Sam. They were going to kill him after they took the money, and then sold her anyway. So Sam and his buddy Bono, they take care of the guards. They leave one alive, and they get Azada to safety. The woman, Amina, basically is taking her to the United States to find a home there in the United States. So that's where Azada's story is. Sam is he's in the deltas now, which is a high elite part of the military. I don't know which branch. And his father, Neil, gets a call from one of his other comrades, I guess you could say, talking about they wanted to take Sam for the Cherokees, but they wanted to do it with his blessing. He didn't want to tell Sarah because he knew she wanted to approve of Sam being put in an even more dangerous spot, but he also knew it was a place of high honor. So he gives the okay. He calls Sam to kind of give him a heads up. He can't really say anything. This group is called the Cherokees, and they are the elite of the elite. So Sam gets the call. He and Bono are going to the Cherokees, and they Sam realizes at the very end that they're going to have to be the ones to take out King Abdullah, as the Cherokees would. Why are we going to take out King Abdullah? Well, he's setting up this whole thing to start World War III to take out the United States and Israel, because those two countries are buddy-buddy. So they set it in place. They have an assassin in the Prime Minister of Israel, I think, maybe, in his airport hangar. He's been there for like 8 days in a spot where the security cameras and everything can't get to him. It was going to be a murder-suicide anyway. So he ends up getting the Prime Minister, killing him, and then he shoots himself. His body falls out of the rafters. So Israel responds. Well, not yet. The Kanarat, or whatever it is, where they get together to discuss moving forward in this such a situation. Not all of them were in the place where they convened, but most of them were. And it turns out they had a janitor that was in that building who kept bringing in pieces of bombs. And so once they were there for that meeting, national security meeting, I guess you could call it, he detonated the bombs and the building collapsed. And so now we've got pretty much the entire Israeli leadership is taken out. They don't know who's alive, who's around. They haven't heard from any leadership. So the general, who is the highest ranking at the time, decides to it is a declaration of war, and they send the F-16s and everything to bomb the various places that could have been the ones to start it, basically. Except when they went to bomb it, they had a nuclear warhead there at one of the places, Gaza, the Gaza Strip. And when they bombed it, the nuclear warhead took out 120 million people. Million? I think it was a million. Maybe it was 1,000, 120,000 people, innocents. At that time, the United States national security, they were in the room, they were watching it General Neil Brighton is in the room. He's watching it, and he felt Satan at his side. He felt Satan in the room, and he said, have him turn back. Tell them to turn back now. It's not too late. Except that no one gave that order because they all thought it was justified. And it technically was, but and then the blast happened, and then the entire world decided to go against the United States and Israel, saying that they killed innocents for no reason at all, and that they're just trying to start stuff. And eventually King Abdullah is able to get a nuclear package, through China. Its destination was said to be in Canada, but it had several airports to stop at on the way, and one of the airports was Washington, D.C. Sarah, Neil's wife, Sam's adopted mom, felt the need to get her and the boys out of the city, and she packs up the boys. Even with Luke arguing, she packs them up. And they start driving west. They don't know where they're going exactly, but as they're driving, they're far enough away. They hear on the news when the nuclear warhead hits Washington, D.C. And Neil gets a phone call from King Abdullah. Basically, he's gloating that the Washington, D.C. is going to be taken out. 7 minutes. He's like, get your president to a place where he can watch. So, and he tells General Brighton to say hello to his brother for him and all that jazz. So they got warning. Only 7 minutes, though. Not really enough time to get the president away. Washington, D.C. is taken out. General Brighton dies. He doesn't get down to the bunker in time. And I did cry during that part because Sarah was absolutely heartbroken. She wasn't near, but she knew that he was passed away. And Luke was absolutely heartbroken, saying he wanted his father. And I think that was written really well, and how the characters feel and everything. But I did cry, and I want to cry now because, yeah. So, and that's the ending scene. Azada makes it to Chicago. She doesn't talk about the Washington, D.C. being bombed or anything. She makes it to Chicago, though. Kind of a poor place, but, it's in America, so she's fine with it. And this woman takes her in, the poorest neighborhood, a proud black woman, and, instant friends. So Azada's in America, she's in Chicago. Sarah, Ammon, and Luke are at the Washington, D.C. temple, and they are looking at Washington, D.C., the capital, and they can't get close. They can't get anywhere near because it's, radiation and everything. So they make a plan. Luke says that he feels like they need to go to Salt Lake, and Sarah says, we don't have any family in Salt Lake. And Luke says, no, but we're the only members of the church in our family, so we need to go to Salt Lake. We need to go to Utah, where there are people who believe like we do. So, and they decide that, yeah, they're going to go to Utah, even though it's going to be hard. Think Stephen King's The Stand type riots and everything. Just the world is in chaos. The country's in chaos. And then one of the last scenes with Sam was him telling Bono, he's like, you think that he may have lost his family, but at the end of the chapter, he's just talking about how he knows his dad is dead. He doesn't know about Sarah, Luke, and Ammon. We don't know if he knows about them, if they've touched base or not. But Sam looks at Bono and says, you do realize that as the Cherokees, we're going to be the ones assigned to go after King Abdullah, right? And Bono says, yeah. And Sam asks Bono, because Bono is also a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and he says, you went on a mission and everything, and you were that president thing, right? And Bono says, I was Elders Quorum president. Yes. And he's like, can you teach me everything? Because, I mean, I've got the basics, but, you know, it was just kind of meh there. But teach me. And Bono says, yeah. And Sam says, but I think I'm going to need to repent because I don't know if I can not want King Abdullah dead. And Bono's like, fair, and I get it. So that is The Second Son by Chris Stewart. The third book in the Great and the Terrible series, which is a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints based series on the last days.